Hello, I'm Pete for Risky Business. The ancients called them safe work procedures. In modern times, we call them proper task procedures. But really, it doesn't matter what you call them. Everyone will agree that following them is a good idea. But not everyone will agree on how they should be developed. The commonly accepted method is for the safety committee to investigate an incident and then recommend that task procedures be written or updated. This, of course, is too late. We've already experienced a loss-producing incident. In order to determine the risk and eliminate the potential for any incident to occur, we must take a systematic and methodical approach. And nowhere is that more important than in developing these procedures. Every occupation has its inherent risks, and these all need to be identified in detail, right from the CEO down to the guy on the shop floor. Because the safety culture within an organization is all-inclusive, everyone's job must be assessed. How do we do this? We begin by creating an inventory of occupations. And from this, we look at every task required to do the job. For each of these tasks, we can then identify what hazards and risks are associated, and then determine the various control measures needed to ensure that the tasks are done properly on a daily basis. You'll notice that I don't use the term safely, I use the term properly. There's a significant difference between the two, and I explain that in another video. Regarding procedures, nobody likes to be told what to do, even if it's in their own best interests. So we stand the greatest chance of having employees buy in and follow task procedures if they participate in the development. The person assigned to assess the tasks and write the procedures will ask the employee to explain in detail every task that they perform. Between them, they will determine the risks, hazards, and the practical controls and solutions to be implemented. Let's look at the tasks associated with being a building inspector for a municipality. According to the building inspector, besides actually inspecting a building to ensure that the appropriate codes are in order, etc., we find that he or she actually does a whole lot more stuff. He or she routinely deals with members of the public, and they also have to drive a corporate vehicle. They need to use a two-way radio, and they often work alone. They may be required to enter confined spaces or climb ladders. And they deal with such health hazards as lead or asbestos, molds, and other toxic substances. Each one of these tasks presents its own set of hazards and necessary control measures required to protect anyone in this occupation. Some will require no action or procedures at all, but the important thing is that we have exercised our due diligence to properly assess the occupation. Avoid reinventing the wheel. By all means, contact other organizations, business associations, and certifying partners within your industry to see what task procedures have been written for the occupations you're analyzing. Simply adapt and adopt these to suit your position's specific requirements. At a bare minimum, we should be looking at each task from several perspectives. Finally, the proper task procedures drafts, or the new standards, are completed and they're ready to be implemented. If there are significant changes to policies or procedures as a result of this assessment, then these should be posted, taught, or communicated to your staff in your normal fashion. After a short period of time, we need to measure whether or not the new procedures are actually being carried out and if they're effective. If not, then we need to evaluate the reasons and make the changes accordingly. This is consistent with Frank Bird's original ICEMEC principle, where we identify the work to be done, we set the standards to perform the work, we measure compliance to these standards, we evaluate what needs to be done to change those standards, and then finally we change the standards Another benefit of taking the inventory of occupations and then choosing the occupation to break it down into its component tasks is that we may now identify exactly what training is required within that occupation. Obviously, in this case, a building inspector has set external qualifications required to allow him or her to be employed as such. But we have now determined that in addition, anyone in this occupation might require conflict resolution, frontline staff training to deal with difficult or irate customers or contractors. How do they deal with aggressive dogs, for example? They need driver training to operate the corporate vehicles. They need to know how to use a two-way radio. They need to know working alone protocols, confined space awareness, ladder training, asbestos recognition, and other health hazards, and so on. A training matrix like this one can be set up and individuals within the occupations trained as required. In this way, we have done complete and practical task assessments of our entire organization. We haven't missed anything. And you'll be surprised at what your employees are actually doing on their daily routine. But here you have a means to understand their needs with their full cooperation and buy-in. I'm Pete for Risky Business. Thanks for watching.